Are listening and or watching One Time Left podcast, where we take a dive into the world of high school athletics by interviewing current and former athletic directors and head coaches. Each episode offers a behind-the-scenes look at the dedication and passion that drive high school coaches and their athletic directors. I'm Lonnie Lopez. Today we have Coach Tino Villarreal, who has coached for 24 years, which included coaching at Austin St. Michael's and St. Joseph Academy. He currently has been the head football coach, athletic director for 10 years at St. Joseph Academy with a record of 73 wins, 38 losses, which include 9 playoff appearances and 2 district championships, 3 by-district championships, and 3 area championships. Welcome, Coach Villarreal.
Thank you for having me on the show.
All right. Coach, were you born, you were started off in Brownsville. You were born and raised in Brownsville?
So I was born in Monterrey, Mexico.
I was thinking, Brownsville.
Yeah.
Brownsville.
Well, so my earliest memories are always in Brownsville. My family moved here when I was 3. So born in Monterrey, Mexico, came to the United States when I was 3. So all my memories are from Brownsville. But yeah, I was in Brownsville for elementary school, middle school, high school, and did my college here. And then I went and worked in Austin for a while. That's how got passion back into coaching in Austin, and then eventually came back to Brownsville and continued coaching down here.
In the elementary world, you went to which elementaries in Brownsville?
St. Mary's.
Oh, St. Mary's. So you've been
always private schools.
Okay.
And so even coaching, right? So I private school, elementary, went to middle school, high school at St. Joseph Academy, which is where I work right now, and then been coaching at St. Joe.
Well, one thing I do want to talk about, is this National Hispanic Institute. I've heard plenty of things about creating leaders with skills to lead the community, and to my knowledge, there's like some coaches that are right now around the valley that are part of that National Hispanic Institute. Can you elaborate a little bit on how?
Yeah. So when I was in a freshman in high school, my mom decided to put me in this leadership group that I had no idea what it was, and I showed up and a bunch of smart kids. And I felt kind of out of place. I'm like, wow, maybe I don't belong here. I didn't really enjoy it too much at first. It was practices every Sunday towards this debate, right? And it was it's called Texas Great Debate. So I participated. I met Coach with you, Coach Roland Gomez, and still coaching. And so Roland and I were in the same. He was from Porter, I was from St. Joe, but we were on the same tip of Texas debate team. And I continued on with that. A lot of coaches participated in that. I eventually met Mike Evans, which was here at Los Fresnos for a while. San Benito, Los Fresnos, Brownsville Veterans. Was the head coach of PSJ Southwest, and now he's at PSJ North again.
Okay.
And so, Mike Evans, are the news reporter, Alex Del Barrio.
Yes.
So Alex was part of NHI. So there's a lot of NHI people in that participate in that. I'm still involved in it. I sit on the national board of directors for the organization now.
Okay.
But that's how we kind of met each other.
Okay. And then when that was your freshman year, and then in high school, you played football. I'm thinking,
yes, sir.
With who was the head coach at that time?
Elvis Hernandez.
You know what? I got to meet Elvis Hernandez's daughter. She works for Dr. Kibo. I think she's
Amanda.
Yes.
Dr. Amanda Hernandez.
Yes,
right?
I met her, and she's the one who got my eyeglasses, and she talked about that her dad was a coach, and Elvis Hernandez.
Awesome coach. Funny story with Amanda. I was there when Elvis, back in the day, you have to remember in the mid 90s, not everybody had a cell phone, right? So having a cell phone was a big deal. And he used to carry a cell phone in his back pocket because at any moment, Amanda was going to be born.
Oh,
and so
okay.
I remember being at practice when he got the phone call that he had to go to the hospital. And Amanda was born. Now she's a doctor here in Brownsville.
Yeah.
So.
In high school, did you play any other sport other than football?
No, in middle school I did. In middle school I was involved, growing up, elementary school I did a lot of soccer. And then in middle school I got introduced to football, but was also basketball, was also a shot put and discus thrower for track. So I did those 3 sports, but once I got to high school, I really just kind of stuck with football and really enjoyed that game. And so it was a lot of weightlifting in the off season and football during the season.
Do you still happen to use some of that Coach Hernandez techniques and stuff that you use?
100%.
That's
100%. I mean, I one of the big things that St. Joseph Academy, like any school, but St. Joseph Academy's been around for a really long time. Started playing football over 100 years ago. Has a rich, deep tradition, and so part of what we do there, is try to keep those traditions and those memories of past coaches and past traditions. So a lot of the stuff I use is definitely how I got coached at St. Joe.
Um, are you you talked about your family, your mom and dad? Is anybody involved in the coaching aspect like you are, or it was just you? Or
I have no idea how I ended up a football coach. I'll tell you how. Elvis, right? So when I stayed here to get my bachelor's degree at UT Brownsville, he's like, Tino, you were a great leader for us. I think you should come back, help me coach the line at the middle school level, 7th and 8th grade. And so I started coaching early on. I started coaching at 18 years old while I was pursuing my bachelor's degree. And I really enjoyed that. And after 2 years, Elvis moved on. He got the Santa Rosa job. And then Bruce Castro, who also has now passed away, but Bruce became the head football coach. And Bruce kept me around. I was now sophomore, junior year in college. And Bruce took a real big chance on me. He made me an offensive coordinator at 21 years old. And so at 21 years old, I'm calling offensive plays on varsity games, not really knowing what the heck I was doing, but I was given that opportunity early on. And then I moved to Austin and started working at the National Hispanic Institute. And I wanted to get back into coaching, so I only knew private schools. We would play a team called Austin St. Michael's. So I went over there to see if I could volunteer, and uh, and so that kind of led me back into the coaching world, but only for a split second here, like a volunteer. I ended up moving back to Brownsville because I wanted to start a seafood restaurant, Tino Seafood, and I ended up starting a pretty successful franchise, 12 restaurants. And when I kind of got burnt out of that, well, I came back and started coaching again. Did Tino Seafood, but started coaching middle school again, just to get back into the flow of things. And eventually kind of got burnt out of Tino Seafood, sold the franchises, and decided that my heart and passion was in coaching. So I started coaching full time again, and then the rest is history.
um, you talked about that nobody else in your family coached and stuff like that. A little bit about coaching. I think you're more because you were an offensive coordinator. What would you consider your offensive philosophy right now, coaching philosophy?
I think that score often and score quickly. No, I'm kidding. My offensive philosophy has evolved over the years. I started calling plays at an early age. I really got real into coaching offense, and I knew that that's going to be my forte. So I decided on my own dollar to go back in the 2009 2010 era when Chip Kelly was with the Oregon Ducks. And you're like, where does this Oregon team coming out of playing at a national championship against Auburn? And a lot of what I could read was very familiar to St. Joe. They're undersized. They're not the power team. Nowadays, Oregon's, completely different. But 2009, 2010, they were doing some really good stuff to become competitive. They came out of nowhere. And without the resources, without this, without that, that all since has changed, right? But I went up, flew up there. I became a big student of the Oregon style offense, fast tempo, um, grabbing a lot of old school concepts. What people don't understand about Chip is that Chip's very old school, but in a very forward thinking way to do it. He's the one who invented the hyper tempo. He's the one who said we're going to run, 3 to 4 times the amount of plays that everybody else runs in one game. We're going to prolong a game from X amount of hours to double the length of the game. And so I guess to answer the question, my philosophy is how do we do a lot of our foundational, traditional, old school football, but how do we keep that very fresh, new, different, unique, and forward thinking? And so we do a lot of that at St. Joe. We don't reinvent the wheel. We run the same plays that we've always run: ISO, power, counter, um, pitches, but how do we do that in a fast tempo without shifting and changing personnel to not allow the defense to do that? How do we keep you on your toes? And how do we make the game longer? And how do we put you in very difficult situations?
I know we talked about how has it changed over the years, which you said it's evolved and stuff like that. Do you have like a game day routine? Like, is there certain things that in the morning I'm gonna eat
Yep,
this, I'm gonna.
I do. Most coaches are superstitious like that. So some coaches do. This is the same underwear and the same shorts that I put on in the morning, and this is my game day outfit. I started from the beginning. Every game, I change what I wear. So my coaching staff all wears the same thing, but I change what I'll never wear the same game day. Once I wear that polo, that was it, and I'll remember that polo and I'll wear it. And I can even tell you the polo I have on right now was a game polo at some point. But I'll never wear that polo twice. I will wear different, whether they're pants, sweatpants, um, golf pants, regular pants, but I'll change the look, the color every game day. That's part of the ritual. Part of the ritual is my coaching staff knows I don't really I don't like to talk to anybody on game day, so I don't really invite guests, media, not even my coaching staff. I sit in my office all day. I review the game plan. I review the situationals. I watch film to the last minute. I try to prepare as much as possible on my own, and until I meet the team, and we have a team meal, and then we have our team meetings. But so my ritual would be to be very isolated. I would think I would be very isolated on game day.
Is there what if you put on your headphones? What are you playing? Are you not a headphone guy?
Not a headphone guy.
So you just
I'm a pretty big football nerd. So I just watch film and review my notes and review situationals and kind of put myself in. I try to prepare for the unexpected. I think that's where the game. You have to be ready for the things that you were never ready for. Point in case, like I prepare for what if my game plan revolves around this kid. Well, what if that kid gets injured? Or we're gonna do this. Well, what if that lineman goes down? Right. So, uh, having an answer to that beforehand that's my Friday ritual. Is I prepare for every unimaginable thing that could happen. I play the scenario. It just happened. How would I respond?
talk to me about you in St. Joseph. You have a seventh grade team, an eighth grade team, or you have a combination of that.
So, great question. So when I first became head coach at St. Joe, our school population was about 650, middle school, high school, which means that in the high school, we were lucky to have 480 students. Okay. We got to a point where 4 years ago, right after COVID and right around the COVID era, our school was a total population size of 400. So we had about 200 and some students in the high school. So we almost lost half of our population. Today, we are at 480 students, of which we have about 75, 80 per class. So we have about 320 to 330 high school kids. So we're still about 150 kids short of when I first took the job. And with that, the majority are females. So St. Joseph Academy, I think, is like 56 to 58% female, 42 to 44% male. So when you look at the numbers, we're really only working with 115 to 120 boys in the high school, of which 50 to 55 stood out to play football. So with that, we can only field 2 high school teams. But in middle school, there's 75 kids in the high school. Of that, about 30 of them are boys. And we do a good job at having like high participation in middle school. So we have about 20 to 25 kids per grade that play football. So we're able to have a seventh grade team, eighth grade team, JV team, and varsity, which each team carries 25 to 30 kids at any given moment.
When you set your schedule, like every 2 years when they do the realignment, you have to go out there and look for games. Do you look at, well, I'm gonna look at 2As, 3As, or I'll give me the 6As, give me the 5As, give me where are we looking at that?
I think that you have to evaluate where you're at, right? I knew that this past year and this year coming up, that we're in the middle of that 2 year cycle. I knew we're gonna have some good kids and a very strong team. So in order for us to get ready for a deep playoff run, we have to play teams that are going to prepare us for that. So we went out and sought after the best possible opponents. That might not be the case next year. It might. It depends, right, and flows. So traditionally, St. Joseph Academy is always playing the Class 4As. So the Rio Hondos, Port Isabel, Hidalgo, even to the 3A now, which is, I think even Rio Hondo is a 3A, but Progreso, Lyford, those are like the traditional St. Joseph Academy teams, right? The Raymondvilles of the world. We've always been in that world. This past year was the first year that we had 5As and 6As actually agree to play us, and I think the mentality was always, well, you get nothing out of it. If you play St. Joseph Academy and you're a 5A, 6A, and you happen to lose, that would look very bad, right? Would be the perception. Oh, that would be a bad loss for us. And if we win, we're supposed to win. So a lot of coaches took that mentality where it wasn't worth playing us, I think, right? Coach J.C. Ramirez, well, let's go backwards. Kelly Lee changed that. When Kelly Lee came to veterans, I said, hey, let's do a St. Joe Veterans private public kind of bowl. And Kelly Lee loved it. So he said, I have no problem with it. I said, Coach, you understand, right, that we're a small private school? He goes, I don't care. So Kelly Lee really was the one who kind of opened that door to say, we're a 5A. And at that time, we were playing veterans, and that's the veterans team that at first started breaking the barriers of getting past that second round, right? And when J.C. Ramirez comes in and takes the program over, I told him, J.C., I'd hate to lose this. This became a good little rivalry, I think we've shown that we can keep up. We don't get blown out. Veterans is a heck of a football program. But it was good for the community too. And JC understood that, and so he kept us on. And that was now moving them to a 6A, right? And that was after the year that they went deep, right? And so this was the first year that we played a 6A because JC decided to keep us on the schedule. And it's been just great for the community. And I think that people kind of seeing, well, if veterans can play them, well, I guess it doesn't look so bad anymore if we play them. Gotcha. So Edinburgh decided to say, we're in, right? Corpus Christi Carroll, we're in. So now we're playing some bigger schools, and fortunate for us, we have the capacity right now to withstand a schedule like that. But it's really about what you have. The games are just as challenging. And I look forward to playing the La Ferias, the Raymondvilles, the Port Isabels. I can't wait to get Rio Hondo back on the schedule. I can't wait to get certain teams that we've lost, Hidalgo, because that's really the teams that we've traditionally played, because we were around the same size. Right now, if you look at our population, we're probably like a 2A, but tradition, like I said from the beginning, St. Joe's about tradition. We're never going to stop playing the schools we've played forever, which are our 4As.
What's funny, when you talk about those schools, I'm thinking, well, you said Port Isabel, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, slot T. So 1 week you're going to go against slot T. Then you say, well, I'm going against veterans. That's the flex bone. And then you should go to La Feria, which is probably a spread type stuff, in Rio Hondo. So, I mean, you're playing a different, like, you got to adjust right away. And you got those couple of days to adjust. So I was thinking about that. I'm like, as a coach, I'm thinking, okay, we got this one this week and this one this week. As you go up north and play those other private schools in the district and non-district, do you see those type of
No,
offenses?
no. Most of private schools are all shotgun,
So,
so they're shotgun spread teams. But but the value in playing the Port Isabels and the veterans of the world, right, is they toughen you up, right? You're gonna have to buckle up in the trenches, and that has a lot of value too. You know, a lot of people go, "Well, I won't play you because I'll never see that offense in my district." I don't think that way. I'm gonna see very powerful teams in my district. I'm gonna see very powerful teams in the playoffs that are big up front, that play smash mouth football, even though they run the spread. But that doesn't stop the size and aggression that we're going to get up front. And so, any chance we get to play teams like that, it just makes us better.
and when you hire your coaches, and that's probably athletic director more stuff, but I want to talk about the football team. When you hire your coaches, these coaches are they like full time jobs and they come after? How does that work?
Well, in a perfect world, we would want our coaches to be teachers. But at St. Joseph Academy, sometimes that doesn't lend itself, right? There's not certain positions that I get. St. Joe's also a very good school, so people keep their job forever. So it's not a big revolving door where positions open and we can move them from this school to that school, multiple campuses. We are one campus, one district, if you were. So we have to get creative, and if I want coaches, I have to figure out how to make it happen. So private school world allows people to just come in and coach after school and get a stipend. Kind of what the retiree hire, they allow certain things like that now in the school district. But for forever and ever, I mean, St. Joe from the beginning of time has relied on just regular people that could come in and coach. And so I have a couple of coaches that are full time that are there, staples for us. But most of the coaching staff that I have, they just come in and coach after school.
With that, when you're looking for a coach and maybe from the outside or you have the inside of Staples, what are we looking for coaches? What are we looking for? Like when you interview them.
I look for two things. So youth, like if they're young and they're fresh out of college or even in college, or because young people bring a lot of energy, a lot of passion, a lot of motivation. I mean, they're the coaches that are jogging out with the kids. I mean, it's like having an ultimate captain, right? And so I look and they're very green and they're easy to mold. So you're able to tell them, hey, look, this is how we want it done. This is the system we run. This is our philosophy. This is our culture. And they buy in, right? And so I look for energized young people that want to learn football and want to be part of something special. The second thing is then everybody else kind of in the middle probably has a job at the district with a team, with some school. So then I also look for people that are already solidified in their profession that have a lot of experience. So I've had John Edge, who is the general manager at Luke Fury Motors, right? So John Edge played football at Texas A&M for the Aggies. He was a starting nose guard, right? So brings a lot of experience. Michael Rodriguez, an attorney, used to be a federal attorney, and now he's a private attorney down here with private practice, but he played at TCU, right? I look for Philip Money, established business, played at Edinburgh, ended up going to play for Rice, wealth of knowledge at a quarterback position. Philip Money. Currently, I have Money Stumbaugh, right? Legendary coach. What an amazing
Valley Hall of Fame.
Hall of Famer. And Money Stumbaugh. Jason Starkey, former head coach of Lopez, played at Marshall, played in the NFL for the Arizona Cardinals. Jason Starkey. George Mata, right? Los Fresnos guy.
Yeah.
From here, one of the best footwork specialists in the game. And so whoever we can get to bring their expertise and their knowledge, we welcome that at St. Joe, and we mix that with a bunch of young guys that are willing to learn, and so I've never been one to be afraid to hire. I pat myself on the back for hiring smarter people and better coaches than myself.
No, I've heard the saying. He goes, surround yourself with some great coaches, and the program will work. When you have your players, and what are your three non-negotiable with players? Like, what's something that you cannot allow with those players?
So I've been looking at your podcast, right? And so I think that when I hear the term non-negotiable, so I've heard a couple of them, and I'm like, well, I don't know for me if that would be a non-negotiable. Non-negotiable for me means if you do it, then you're out. Like that's how I interpret non-negotiable, right? Like so I don't paint myself into a corner. I can't tell a kid talking back is a non-negotiable, because you're gonna have, it's football, it's heated. Someone's gonna talk back, and what are you gonna do? Kick them off your team? So I mean, unless you're willing to kick them off the team, I don't think that those kind of things are non-negotiable. Now, what am I willing to dismiss a player for on my team? What are non-negotiables for me? Kids are kids. They're gonna be kids. So I paint myself into a corner if I say certain things are non-negotiable, and they do it, and then I back out.
Yeah.
So the one non-negotiable for sure at St. Joseph Academy that every player coach knows about me: don't lie. Tell the truth. Be man enough to square up and tell me exactly the truth of what's going on. Because to me, that goes beyond football. That's not about running a football program. It's about why we get into the football game. Football is a vehicle for you to impact and change a life. And kids in today's world are okay white lying and making up stories, and we know, but we don't call them out. Well, on my team, everyone knows you don't send a messenger. You come yourself to my office. You don't give me a half-truth story. You tell me exactly what's going on. Because if we're at that foundational level, if from that level we're good, there's nothing else that can get in our way, right? But if from the foundational level we know that we can't trust each other, then guess what? I don't really know what's going on. Sometimes kids are having a bad day, and guess what? They don't want to tell you about it. And it's okay. I'm not their counselor. But you know what? I'm their coach, and we love them, and we want to be able to be there for them and help them. So for me, sometimes it's what's going on? What's really going on? Why were you late? Why didn't you come to practice? Why are you not participating well in practice? We call it dragging ass, right? Like, why are you dragging ass? Well, coach, I'll be honest with you, man. I stayed up really late. They don't just say, I'm good, coach, don't worry about it, right? And so that's one non-negotiable. Now, minute things that are non-negotiable that I've benched players for: we wear the same uniform all the time for everything. You forget the correct shorts that day, you're not playing that Friday. If my team doesn't look exactly the same for practice every day, we don't look exactly the same for pregame. You'll never turn on a film of St. Joe and watch kids wear all different colors and styles of cleats. We're red, white, and black. You won't see purple cleats out there. You won't see, those are non-negotiables for me. We look the same. You'll never see us. I go to the detail of the undergarment, meaning if I'm going to wear my shoulder pads and you have a little bit of shirt showing underneath, I cannot stand having you with a gray one, you with a black one, you with a white one, you with a red one. I said, you guys better figure this out, and everybody wears the same color underneath. That way, if we can see the shirt, everybody looks the same. I don't have the NFL high socks. I allow them to wear low cut socks, but I can't have some socks being black and some socks being white. You guys figure it out, and everybody looks the same. And I let my players choose what uniform they use, but they know that a non-negotiable, it better all look the same.
And being the head coach for 10 years, I mean, even maybe when you were an assistant in the middle school, what's one football game which I mean going to 3 area championships and 3 by district championships? My thing is, what game comes to mind when you think of your coaching career?
A recent one, and then what I still believe is the biggest win in my career. Okay, so the most recent one was 3 seasons ago. We were playing Austin St. Michael's, and we were down 28-0. I benched my quarterback. I put in a freshman. Kind of sparked us a little bit. We weren't moving the ball. We had three turnovers in the first quarter. I mean, everything that could go wrong was going wrong. Eventually, I put my starter back in, Ethan Gallegos, and we got into the end zone, and we missed the extra point. But we went into halftime 28-6 after being down 28-0 and played probably the worst half ever. And that was a very good St. Michael's team. And I could have exploded on the team at halftime. I could have been so upset at them. And we were on the road. And we were without 2 of our best players that stayed home. And I wanted really to see it. We had a special team that year. We went 8-3 that year. But I told him, I just want to know if we're resilient enough just to bounce back. I don't care if we win or lose this game. I care about how we come out. Can we win the second half? And maybe, just maybe, if you bring that thing down to 1 score in the fourth quarter, you might just pull off something crazy tonight. Well, sure enough, dicho y hecho. We got the ball back with about 2 minutes and 30 seconds, down 28-21. I mean, that means we had to have already had gone for a 2-point conversion. Remember, we were down 28-6. So we had already gambled the 2-point conversion. So now we're down 28-21. And as soon as we got the ball back, I got on my headset and I told Sam Lucio, my offensive coordinator, you better start thinking of the 2-point play because we're going to score. We're going for 2 and we're going home. We threw a kind of a last-minute buzzer 30-yard bomb into the end zone to Claudio Torres. The kid comes down with it, 28-27. I call my final timeout. The fans think I'm stupid crazy, right? We have the momentum. They're like, play in overtime. You're going to be fine. We went for 2. The play I called completely did not work. Our quarterback, Ethan, scrambled, figured out how to punch himself into the front pylon of the end zone. I'd never celebrate. I ran around like a crazy madman when I saw the officials, let us know that was good. And we had a little walk-off 29-28 victory after being down 28-0 against a very good Austin St. Michael's team. So that one comes to mind recently. The almost exact same thing happened, but this was for us to knock off Fort Worth Nolan Catholic, a TAPS Division I powerhouse, at Canales Field for a playoff victory. And they came in with 3 or 4 Division I guys, and we had 0 Division I guys. We had Kai Money, who ended up becoming a Division I guy because he earned it through his walk-on. But same thing. We're down 28-0. And we ended up tied 35-35 in the fourth quarter. We marched in there. We scored. They called us back for holding. We had to go for a field goal. And it was on our, Jose Kawachi, my field goal kicker's birthday. And I called a timeout. And I remember calling Jose over. And everybody was freaking out. You're going to ice your own kicker? I said, no, man. It was a big game. And the huge comeback to go 35-35 after being down 28-0 against a powerhouse from Fort Worth with some D1 guys on there. And I will never forget calling him over and saying, Jose, it's your birthday, right? Yeah. Happy birthday, man. And I said, you see that student section? Yes, sir. They're going to celebrate your birthday like you have no idea after you drill this kick right now. And sure enough, it was a 32-yard field goal right through the uprights, 38-35. They got the ball back with about 40-some seconds. We held them off, and we rushed the field. And that was the first time that St. Joseph Academy had such a big win against in private school. The Division One, which is like the 6As, it's kind of unfair, right? It's like 500. The number is like 506. If you have more than 506 kids or something, 406, something like that, like 406, a small number. Like if you have more than 406, to infinity. Meaning, if I have 1,000 students, a 400 school, you're still playing 1,000. Well, they were one of the big, 800, 1,000 population student body, loaded with talent, rich in history, won multiple state championships. I still believe that's the biggest win in my coaching career, and it's special because at that halftime, I coined a phrase that we now use, and it's called Canales Field Magic, because I told the team, I had nothing else to say. We were down 28-0 and at home in a playoff game, and I said, you know what, guys, let's just take it one down at a time and let's chip away at this thing, and I promise you that if you tie this game up, there's going to be this Canales Field magic that's going to come to life. And let me tell you why I believe in that. Because we're the only school that I know of in the state of Texas that has played state championship games right here. Other people have played state championship games, but guess what? We're the only non-turfed field. And so I tell the kids, I believe in all that stuff. The blood, sweat, the tears of 100 years of football and multiple state championship games being played here, that's in that soil. It's deep rooted in the grass. I believe in that, right? And I do believe that when the ball had to bounce a certain way, the field would help us. And that's the magic. Right? When the ball had to bounce a certain way, that day the grass was wet. And when they had to slip, they slipped and we didn't slip. I believe in that. And so those are the two biggest games.
Canales magic. Don't want to single anybody out, but who's the Mountain Rushmore of players? And I always tell people, hey, give me at least 4. If you need 5, we'll put them there. We'll make enough of Mountain Rushmore.
Well, that's a tough thing for me, like any coach, right, to say, because I've been blessed with such amazing players that, then you fear leaving some out, right? No. And it's a great question, and it's a fair question, right? I can tell you that off the top of my mind, I mean, you don't want to leave certain players out, but just recent football, obviously, it still has your emotional heartstrings because it just happened, right? And so we just graduated Claudio Torres, Diego de la Cruz. I mean, I think hands down, the Valley will tell you that we don't win certain games without those guys. We don't beat veterans without those guys. We don't beat Corpus Christi Carroll without those guys. We don't put up the numbers we did this year without those guys. Both of them playing Division I football now. So it's not measured by whether you play Division I football or not, right? But 2 amazing leaders, 2 phenomenal players. But I've coached so many all-state players, and I've coached a lot of guys that have gone on to play college ball. Miles Folks played at Texas A&M for 3 or 4 games. I got to coach Gunnar Henderson, who's now coach at UTRGV. Ended up catching a touchdown pass and winning a championship with TCU. Kai Money at Texas. Ricky Miner, who went on to play at Trinity. Abraham Karam, who went on to play at Texas Lutheran University. You start looking back at the pieces of the puzzle there, and there's so many names, and to Mount Rushmore them. I mean, guys that did not go play: Dave LaPere, Joey Navarro, Javi Gonzalez. I can continue naming just so many players, but to try to be as fair as possible. Even going back at the first round that I coached before I left to Austin. Coco Martinez, and that name resonates still in the Rio Grande Valley, who went on and played at Texas and at UT under Mac Brown. You look at some of the most special players that I've witnessed. Coco Martinez would be up there. Kai Money would be up there. Claudio Torres would be up there. Diego de la Cruz would be up there. And alongside a Ricky Miner, and all those other guys that are deserving, but But it would be tough to create a
No,
Mount
I
Rushmore.
hear you.
We'd need a big mountain at St. Joe for that.
With that, Coach, a couple things is I know I reach out, as part of the podcast, I reach out to coaches and stuff, coaches or somebody who can help me, find some of your players and go with that. So I'm gonna share everything with you that I have. And the first one, I want to thank Coach Jason Starkey because he helped me with this, and he was able to reach out to a lot of players and coaches and describe in one word and elaborate. So I'm gonna go off on this. Here we go. One word I chose to describe Coach Tino Villarreal is honor. In my opinion, to see a man's character, you need to look no further than how he treats his parents. Forget the coaching. Tino inspires me with the son he was to his late mother and to his father. Honor your father and mother so that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on the earth. Ephesians 6:2-3. That's from Jason Starkey. Next person, he goes, one word to describe Coach Tino Villarreal is fiery, because there's never a moment too big for Coach Tino. He's always going to rise above pressure and use it to his advantage. That's from Luigi Cristiano.
One of our greatest Mount Rushmore guy. I mean, geez.
Intense. The next word was intense. You don't need an explanation for that. That's from Coach Mike Evans. Mentor. Coach Tino has never been a coach to me. I see him more like a family, almost like an uncle. He's one of my mentors. He always believed in me and pushed me to become the man he knew I could be. Whenever I needed guidance, he was there. When I set a goal, he helped me reach it because he believed in me, not just as an athlete, but as a person. He saw my potential beyond the field and has walked with me every step of the way. Del Pozo, class of 23.
Mount Rushmore. Man, these are tough.
The word is loyal. Coach Monty Stumbo. Next one, mentor. Coach Tino Villarreal has been a tremendous mentor and positive influence in my life and lives lives of many others. Over the past 12 years at St. Joseph Academy, his guidance has shaped me into the coach I am today. I've learned an incredible amount of football and leadership through his mentorship. Coach Tino's impact extends far beyond just football. He's been a role model to athletes across multiple sports and a constant source of inspiration to our students. His influence is felt not only here in Brownsville, but in many other cities as well. He has truly been a blessing to our St. Joe community and to the city of Brownsville as well. That's Coach Andrew Soto. Impactful. Tino never fails to make an impact with anything he's involved with, whether it's with his athletes or the Brownsville community. He will always leave a place better than he found it. Kai Money, 2018.
Wow.
And another one, here we go, visionary. Because Coach Tino is constantly looking ahead, striving to improve the program year after year, not just for current players, but for future generations. He doesn't just coach football. He builds a lasting culture and shapes his players into responsible, disciplined men on and off the field. Blake, 2021.
Blake, folks, another Mount Rushmore.
So all these, I think I got one late last night. I did not put it in, and I apologize for not putting it in on there. But when all this comes back, like, these coaches and these players, former players, you leave that long-lasting impression. I mean, how does that come across? How does that feel?
Well, I'll tell you right now that I guess everybody, all my players and coaches will know that I'm I don't celebrate much. I don't let emotion get too much into the game for me. And sometimes that probably depicts me as unemotional. That's not true. I just know how to control the emotions. But I'll tell you what, those are some amazing words from some stellar people in my life. And my heart is full. Like, you read that to me, and I had no idea this was going to be part of the podcast. And thank you to everyone that participated in those kind words. In my job, I deal mostly with problems. So people that call me, they don't call me to really say kind words. They kind of call me because they have the opposite of kind words to say where there's an issue or a problem that I have to fix or solve. So it's overwhelming to hear that, and man, he just made my day.
I'm glad that podcast can do that. But I just appreciate everybody who participated. Coach Starkey, hands down, sent me a lot of information, and I appreciate that very much. I'm going to take it away a little bit from football because now we have 2-minute offense.
All right.
Now our 2-minute offense, I changed it up. And if you've heard it in the other ones, I did keep a couple of them, but I changed it up a little bit just to see it, just to get a little feel of something different. Here we go. 2-minute offense. All it is this or that. You just choose one. First thing that comes to mind. 2-minute offense. Fruits or vegetables?
Fruits.
Cookies or chips?
Cookies.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird and night owl.
And night.
I'm both, man.
So you don't get too much sleep then?
Not too much.
Save or spend?
Save.
Movies or TV shows?
TV shows.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Mullet or mohawk?
Mohawk.
Mohawk. Peanut butter, crunchy or smooth?
Crunchy.
Crunchy. Chess or checkers?
Chess.
Jordan or LeBron?
Jordan, and I have so many awesome arguments with my players about that. Jordan the whole way.
Montana or Brady?
Brady.
Oh,
I know. I was Montana forever, and I hated Tom Brady until he retired. I give him his credit.
Walter Payton or Emmitt Smith?
Emmett.
Shotgun or under center?
Shotgun.
Onion rings or French fries?
I love them both. Onion rings.
Onion rings. Talk to me about barbecue or tacos?
You're crushing me with these. These are hard. I love both so much. Tacos. I mean, but I love barbecue. A barbecue taco.
Barbecue tacos. I've heard that before. And this is the last one of the 2-minute offense. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm not Italian. They'll roll over right now. Italians hate that, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about going back to athletic director, because now that's what you talked about, where people call to solve or fix something. They have a concern.
Sure.
Concern. So, and that brings me up to this question: what's the hardest thing about being an athletic director that you've come across?
I think the hardest thing is for yourself, right? Like if you have to make such tough decisions that you just have to be comfortable knowing that you're not going to make everybody happy, and that a lot of people will never be satisfied or like you. And that's okay. But as long as you make the best decisions for the athletes, as long as the athletes are in the forefront of the decisions you make, right? You're always going to hire the wrong person, fire the wrong person. You're going to make certain decisions about travel or tournaments that you're never going to make all the parents and the athletes, the parents, happy. But if you worried about the athlete, then just it's the hardest job is to feel the need that you want to make everybody like you or be happy with your decisions. I think to me that's always been 10 years into it now. I guess even my families and parents of St. Joe listening will probably say, "Oh, he doesn't care what I think." I do, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to do what you asked, because for me, the more important part is let's do what's right for the child.
Before you got the AD job at St. Joseph, did you interview anywhere? Not anywhere else. Did you interview some more interview? Did you do interviews for an athletic director job?
No.
Just St. Joseph was the...
Just St. Joe. Yeah, I actually was head football coach first for a year, and not athletic director. And then the job opened, and I applied to be the athletic director. So at my school, unlike public schools, in private schools, most private schools, actually the athletic director and the head football coach are two different people in private school. So we have a structure like all the ISDs, but that's very uncommon for a private school.
I'll ask this question once in a while. A coach wearing hat backwards, yes or no?
No.
Now, I thought you were going to say no, because when you
the
talked
way I am,
about the way that everybody in the uniform, which
I tell the coaches, if you want to wear your hat backwards, then every coach better wear it backwards, right? And I just don't think, I get it. It's passionate. I understand it. No caps backwards, no shirts tucked out.
Even in practice?
Oh no. I'm
Just
talking
game day, game day.
Game day.
Everybody's I got you.
Practice, yeah, practice. You got to have your comfortable shorts and your comfortable shirt. Yeah.
If I was to ask some of your players, what do you say a lot of practice? What would that be?
They'd say I talk too much. After, like that's everybody take a knee. They go, oh man, he's going to talk for 10 to 15, 20 minutes. I'm hypercritical. So phrases that may not be they're not inappropriate, but phrases that viewers might take wrong, right? Like, I will always be ultra judgmental in practice about everything. And that means that I will always use harsh statements like, well, if we're going to play like that, we're going to get our butt whooped, right? So almost a lot of things will be hypercritical. And so I guess a phrase would be like we're terrible, or hey, we coach that. I'll tell coaches like, you see that? We coach that. Man, we're terrible. Geez, gosh, dang. Like it's always kind of those words that I think my players would probably say, yep, that's him, or like, we're no good. Guys, if this is gonna win on Friday, we're gonna get our butt. We're losing. Right? I think it's the hyper overcritical, very like just being harsh down on us, not on a kid, on us as a unit, right?
What do you think is a common myth in coaching?
I have a great one, and this is going to go controversial, but a good controversy. I'm going to stir the conversation for you for your future podcast. Does the coach make the player, or the player make the coach? I believe that the player makes the coach, and that's the myth. Coaches give themselves too much credit. And in today's world with private coaching, private training, AAU, travel ball, I'm the latest great. If you want to be good, come to me, right? Well, they make their name and their money off of the most disciplined kid that wants to be good. So I'm a big believer that the player makes the coach, right? And so coaches love bragging, like, oh, well, you see that guy? He trained at my gym. Well, yeah, that guy was going to go to play college ball, whether he trained at your gym or any other gym. It was the kid's drive that got them to play college ball. It was the kid's discipline that got them to play college ball. It was the kid's talent that got them to play. And my only fact to back what I set up is there are coaches that have amazing winning seasons, and those same coaches also have losing seasons. Did they forget to coach? No. They just didn't have the amount of players that were dedicated, talented, and wanted it as bad as the certain years they do. But they still are great coaches. They have the same system. I do believe that we undervalue what the players bring to the table. And I think that's an awful myth in today's world because of the private coaching, travel ball, and AAU coaching. Coaches give themselves and individuals give themselves way too much credit. I did not make all these guys that you just read, the Luigis, Adrian Del Pozos, Kai Moneys, everyone who's on that, the Blake folks, I mean, those guys made me, right? And that's my belief.
If you would write a book, what is one story you would put in it?
Oh, if I would write a book about my life or coaching or anything.
It can be coaching. It could be about life. What would you write in your book?
Probably a story that would have to be in there. It would be the story of and kind of one of the most important ones would be, I think the reason I'm in coaching and the reason I chose that over business and the reason that I am the way I am is because we didn't have it easy growing up. My story that I don't share too often, right? We moved here from Mexico. Remember, you said born and raised in Monterrey, and we moved here. And a quick story: when we moved here to a friend of my parents' home, where they asked the daughter to live in the master bedroom with the parents so that my mom, dad, and I could live in that daughter's bedroom.
Wow.
We came here with nothing. I was 3. I didn't understand it then. But we lived in a little bedroom that we didn't pay rent because we didn't have money for rent. And we lived in that home and had to start a brand new life and had to, my parents had to sacrifice everything. And even in not having much, we're still able to afford a private Catholic education for me. So talk about the things they didn't do for themselves. They didn't drive fancy cars. They didn't go have dinner in restaurants. They couldn't afford to eat out. I grew up very humble. I never had a car in high school. I had to bum rides. I never grew up with cable TV. I think I would write a book about when you live through sacrifices, you find so many people that are willing to be part of your success because you don't have success. And when you have success, sadly in our community, Lonnie, people try to bring you down. But when you have nothing, that same community tries to bring you up. It's a kind of twisted way to do it. But I would definitely talk about that story because I'm coaching at the right place because I came here as an underdog. I came here without anything and try to make something. So my parents taught me that. And I coach that every single chance I get at St. Joe. Even though we're private school and people think that I coach privileged kids that are snotty and stuck up, I field a roster of 25 and I line up against rosters of 60. I have a beat up weight room without any air conditioning, and I don't have the latest hammer strength things that public schools do. I've got an old field house with some plumbing issues that we make the best of it. I don't have the nicest facilities in the world. But guess what? We're going to get after it. And we're the underdog. And we're going to come out. We want what we, need to go earn. And I think that story started with how I got here.
I call it good food, good mood. If you're invited to a potluck, what are you bringing?
Ceviche.
Ceviche. Well, I mean, you had 12 seafood restaurants, so I was like,
and then we make a killer ceviche. And when we had the restaurants, we were the Brownsville Herald's best ceviche in town, and that's because we have some good ones, But I would bring ceviche.
In terms of, what's the best tacos you've eaten? Like, or where do you recommend to go eat tacos at?
Taco Villa.
Which one's that one?
They're my favorite. By the way, we all have. I frequent Mr. Taco, Ultimo Taco, Taco Loco, Calacas. Right? Like, they're all killer. But recently, I've been going to Taco Villa. It's right there off the frontage road on the HEB on Boca Chica. And I like tripa dorada.
Oh.
And they do a killer tripa. I recommend that you at least go give it a try.
What's your Whataburger order?
Number 5, no mustard, add mayo, grilled onions, add jalapenos, toasted bun, cut in half.
The 5 is the bacon cheese.
The bacon cheese.
The bacon cheese.
Yeah.
But barbecue, say you're a barbecue too.
Love barbecue. Used to be on a barbecue grilling team.
Really?
Yeah. No, I love barbecue. Yeah, I love cooking it and definitely love eating it.
Oh, so Texas Monthly released their top 50, which
I saw that.
What?
A bunch of new restaurants.
Yes, I saw that.
So now I have a bucket list. Now I have to go try them.
Which right now, if you were to even if you haven't, which one would have you tried that you say you know what, you would go there? Where have
It's
you?
solid. Smitty's Barbecue in Lockhart, Texas.
Lockhart. I've seen been
So
there.
like Smitty's is for me because I love the brisket and their sausage links, the hots. They're I mean for me, now if I was a like a rib lover, maybe Luling. You know, maybe the ribs in
The
Luling at the market,
city
city
market.
market. I would probably think the ribs there are pretty good. Um,
All right, I'm gonna recommend this one because I've eaten there once, and I told my wife we're gonna go just there. It's in Arp, Texas, or Kilgore, Texas, outside of Tyler, Texas. It's called Country Tavern. And I remember our friends took us. They talk about ribs and ribs, and I'm like, well, I'm more of a brisket guy. Those ribs, hands down. I just want to go back just for. I'll go back, drive the whatever 8
yeah,
9 hours just for
just
those
for those
ribs.
ribs.
Country Tavern.
I'm gonna
Highly
get that
recommend it.
address from. I'm gonna need it.
Coach, I wanna thank you. One last question to end. What would you tell an up and coming coach?
It's a good question. I mean, an up and coming coach, I would say, um, young coaches, what they try to bring, they want to feel part of the staff. So they want to bring some sort of like knowledge, or they want to bring like ideas. And because I'm around young coaches all the time, you heard what kind of coach they like to hire: young, energetic coaches, or very experienced guys that know a heck of a lot more football than I do. The young coaches always try to bring that that energy, but they try to bring, hey, have you ever thought of running this play, or have you ever tried doing this, or have you ever tried doing that? I would say that my recommendation to coaches is two things. Number one, the foundational part of coaching. Remember that you're the player's coach, not their friend. That's for young coaches. Number two, remember that you're there to learn and to do. You're not there to create ideas. So, I mean, it sounds so simple, but if they're there understanding that you're the player's coach, not their friend, and coach, how do you want me to do it? What drill do you want me to do? And what are the coaching points you want me to, what is it that you need from me to help this program? And if you just become selfless that way as a young coach, and you're going to get to work for multiple bosses and that run programs differently, that have different philosophies, that have different, but if you're just a sponge and a sponge and a sponge, over time people will then start asking you for your opinion. So what do you think we should do? And that's when you start getting into that coordinator spot. And then you do that for a while, and then one day you're going to become the head coach. And when you become the head coach, guess what you're going to want? A bunch of young coaches that do exactly as you want done, that don't try to come and reinvent your wheel or tell you how to do your system better than you.
You're in the city commissioner, correct?
Yes, sir.
Talk to them about that. How did you get into that? Like, when you say, you know what, I'm gonna go help the community. How did that come about?
I've always been involved in the community. So I got criticized a lot when I first became head coach and athletic director, because I was sitting on the Brownsville Community Improvement Corporation, the Economic Development Corporation Type B of Brownsville. I was the chairman. And then I got put on PUB, on the PUB board. And a lot of alums were like, how are you going to serve PUB and then be a good athletic director and head football coach? And I think over time I've proven that, you know, both can exist. St. Joe always comes first, right? St. Joe, meaning the kids, they always come first. But I never get involved in something that I can't do. So I'm not going to serve on a board if I can't fully serve on the board. I'm not going to run for city office without speaking to my bosses first at the school and say, are we okay with this? Knowing that the kids come first. And yeah, I also want to do a great job as a city commissioner, right? And I think over time, how it came about was just, I've always wanted to be part of the decision making of what happens for our youth and our kids. And I didn't see any champion in the city commission that was going to fight for the kids of Brownsville. We're the largest city in the state of Texas without a Boys and Girls Club or a YMCA or a community rec center. Now we have Gonzalez Park, we have Oliveda Park, we have amazing parks and an amazing parks and rec department. But the city of 200,000 that doesn't have a place where they're 8 pickleball courts, 8 basketball volleyball courts, a dance studio, an area for e-gaming and mentoring. And right, if we don't have a big center, right, um, you look at other big cities, they have multiple centers like that. So I got on the city commission with a promise that we were going to do that, that we're going to start really taking a look as a city up towards our youth. And so I developed the youth advisory board, consisted of 19 members, public, private, charter, and even homeschool kids. One rep per school now sits on the city youth advisory board. And what do? They advise us from the young perspective of things that they want to see in their city, things they want us to do. Created the One City Youth Scholarship. So now we created funds so that the youth advisory board distributes these funds to kids that want to go to a national chess tournament, a flag football tournament, all the different the dance championships, or whatever it is that Brownsville's going to go out and do, and they don't have the funds for it. Now they have a place to go and do that. And so my passion to fight for kids isn't just something that I want to do at St. Joe. It's something that is a passion for me to do in the city that I live in. And kind of that's what got me into the role. And now, politics plays a role into it now. Obviously, you get dragged through the mud left and right. And that's okay, because I think people who know me and know my character know what I'm about. They know that I'm in it for the kids. I just want to see a better future for Brownsville, and that's by focusing on young people, right? And there's no one on the commission. Well, not they all are great people. I'm not saying we don't have good members on the commission, but a champion for youth, right? We have champions for economic development. We have champions for downtown living. We have champions for housing. Everyone deserves a champion. Our youth deserved someone to go fight for them, and I'm proud to be that voice on the commission for them.
Awesome. Coach, with all that, and I appreciate you again, that will bring us to the end of the episode of One Time Out Left. I want to thank Rosie Lopez, who's her house and allow us to be in here and to place to film. I also want to thanks to Coach Tino Villarreal for spending some time with us. Thanks so much for tuning in, and keep an eye out for the next episode. Subscribe on YouTube to get notifications, along with X and Instagram, as well as TikTok. One Time Out Left may be found on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If there are questions you would like for me to ask future coaches and athletic directors, please leave them in the comments. Or is there a head coach or athletic director you would like to be on the show? Also leave a comment. Thank you. Thanks again, Coach.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.